the wheels for the F350. Winch mounting plate from Harbor Freight. Because it's from Minnesota, don't you know? And hopefully it all works. Welcome back, Clawhammer build day 2. Let's get started. Hey everybody, what's up? And welcome back to another episode of Chasing 518. It is crunch time for the Clawhammer challenge. It is time to get some modifications made. We've got the wheels for the F350. I got the winch mounting plate from Harbor Freight. And the big one for today is I got the new leaf springs from Procomp. These are 4-inch lift springs for a 99 to 04 F250 350. Found a coupon for them. I got 2 springs shipped to my door for $308. So I think that's a huge win right there. It should give me all the altitude I need on this thing. I'm sure the right way to lift this is longer shocks, an adjustable length track bar, probably even like a drop pitman arm. I don't even know what they would suggest for a 4-inch, but we're not doing any of that because we're on a budget. So we're gonna throw the lift springs in, and then I imagine I'm gonna have to extend the track bar. So my plan is to just cut it and sleeve it with some tubing that I have, and hopefully it all works. Let's get started. Super happy because this truck came from Minnesota. I was so worried that these bolts would be just completely rusted to the leaf spring bushings. So really happy these are coming out. There we go. That should be a pretty good lift. Something I didn't think about at all. I knew the shocks were going to be too short, but something I didn't think about at all was the brake lines. So I bent this hard line coming off the, well, I guess it's all part of the hose, but I bent it up a bit at the caliper, and then I bent this frame side tab down. I missed a few steps with the GoPro battery that went dead and I didn't catch it, so apologies for that, but I'll show you what why do I always say we? I'll show you what I got done where I'm at. Got the passenger side spring in, bolts are loose, and then it's just sitting on the pin. I was trying to do one spring at a time, but the lift's just so big that it just twists it too much to get everything lined up. So I ended up taking the driver's side just apart. In the back U-bolt, leaf spring U-bolt's kind of fighting me right now. Also got the track bar out. Those bolts are huge. They were very tight. Took a breaker bar and a pipe and a lot of force. And then the plan with the track bar here is, I mean, I think it's just like 1-inch solid. So I'm hoping that I can take a piece of like 1.5 250 wall. Hopefully I've got a scrap and just cut that thing and extend it and make it the right length. If that doesn't work, I mean, I could always make a tube one with Heims and stuff, but just really don't want to. All right, I'll set the camera back up and Like I said, I'm still trying to get that driver's side leaf spring U-bolt out. Then we can keep going. Find something to clamp the camera on here. Cleaned up the U-bolt plate, the 2 U-bolts, wire wheeled the threads, and I seized I've got this spring center pin located in the axle, and I don't want to lose it while I do the other side, so I'm just gonna kind of snug the nuts up. Of course, the floor jack's in the way. That should keep this side located while I work on the other side. Rusted. It was rusted into that bracket pretty good. Because it's from Minnesota, don't you know? I think we're over the hump as long as all the bolts come out. Here we go. Know how well you can see that right there, but that's not gonna work. The center pin's not sitting all the way down in the axle. Looks like it might be the same on the passenger side too. All right, I'm gonna have to lower that down and figure that out. Alright, I was able to get that one clearanced out. I think that one might actually be okay. I need to jack up that side and see. I'll throw a jack stand right here and then go work on the other side. Yeah, it looks like this pin, looks like it's hanging up. I don't know if that daylight will show through right there, but I think I'll take this side apart and do the same thing I just did to the other side. I got lucky on this side. There was just a little bit of rust, a little bit of rust and debris I was able to kind of pick out of there. I think will get me the 1/16 of an inch I need. So get this side put back together. The full weight of the vehicle is on the axle, kind of bringing the axle and the leaf spring assembly together. So I've got those tightened down as much as I can get them, which will be plenty. And then typically, if this is like a street driven vehicle, I will kind of retorque or tighten those after a few miles. But it's good to do all this with like simulated vehicle weight. So I'll get it as much on its weight as I can before I tighten the hanger bolts and the front eye bolts and all that stuff. But I figured out a plan to move the shocks. So these shock towers bolted to the frame right there. I thought about trying to build lower mounts on those mounts, but it's just so unique trying to mount the rubber shock eye that I figured, well, I'll try and get them off the frame, see how bad the rust is. And it honestly, the bolts came right out, so that was great. My buddy Seth is coming over. He's going to be at the challenge with me. I'm going to have him run these through the bandsaw, take 4 inches out, and then we'll just weld them back together to make them 4 inches shorter. I think that'll be easy. Factory track bar goes on this frame mount right under the steering box and then goes down to that axle bracket right there. The idea behind a track bar or panhard is that it's the same length as the drag link and it's at the same angle. So the factory setup is it's much shorter than the drag link. You can see the drag link goes all the way over there versus the track bar ends right in there. But because we're coming down, it's actually going to pull the axle at an arc. So to keep the axle centered in the truck, I need to lengthen it. I'm not sure how far, but it doesn't really matter until I decide how I'm going to do it anyway. So what I've come up with is I just wipe the track bar down quickly. It's 1 inch, feels like solid, some sort of, I don't know, steel. I'm going to cut it, and then I've got some 1.5 inch 250 wall that should fit inside of it. So I'm just going to build a sleeve and lengthen it however long it needs to be. So basically I'll build the sleeve assembly, leave it loose, and then bolt it back in the truck, jack the axle up to ride height, make sure it's centered left to right, and then tack weld it or mark it at that length, pull it out, burn it in, and good enough. Alright, so all we did here was Seth cut 4 inches out of these shock towers to make them right. So we got a piece of plate we're going to use to fill the weird shapes and then just weld whatever I can reach. It's going to be plenty strong for just a whatever, a dumb shock. I mean, that's it? Did we test fit?
Yeah.
Okay. Test fit that.
I don't know where it goes.
You'll figure it out. You will figure it out. It obviously got dark as I was finishing up the lift last night, so get you caught up on what we've got. So I threw just a couple lug nuts on, got the springs in, got the shock towers shortened up, cut 4 inches out of the shock tower, welded them back together to just bring the entire shock down 4 inches to kind of match the lift kit. I'm not going to make new bump stops, so that also when the shock bottoms out on the collapse side, that's also going to be my bump stop now. So we're going to try not to do anything at speed, because otherwise we'd break the shocks right off the truck. But if it's a slow controlled articulation, it should work and create some bump. Got the smudge pot in the background here. It's cooking off some old oil. Is sizzling too because it had some rainwater in it. With the track bar lengthened, we were able to keep the axle centered under the truck. So today, just to finish up the lift kit, I need to tidy up some of I need to check and make sure that I need to reconnect this four-wheel drive hose. Might need to be a little longer. That's the vacuum actuated hub. I want to make sure the brake hose is clear while turning. And then I probably need to lengthen the drag link to make sure that it turns as far left as it does right now that it's lifted up. All right, let's get this thing jacked up and start tidying up some hoses and wires. Let's bring you in here and show you what we got, what I got. All right, so this is the drag link going from the pitman arm over to the passenger side knuckle. Because we lengthened the track bar, the logic also follows that we're going to need to lengthen the drag link. I went ahead and turned the truck left and right on jack stands, and it easily gets full driver, but it won't turn full passenger, meaning these knuckle stops won't come together because the drag link's not long enough. So I loosened up the pinch bolts. It's a left and right hand thread. So I'm just gonna spin that and lengthen the drag length a little bit. Theoretically, it'd be the right length when the steering wheel's straight again. But I don't know if I've got enough engagement in here to make it that much longer. So when I spin this around and I can see the opening in this pinch sleeve, I'll know how much engagement I have to work with. And I don't necessarily need the steering wheel straight, but I do need to be able to turn all the way left and right because trail wheel. So right here's the opening in the pinch sleeve, and I can see that I've got probably at least 2 inches of engagement on each drag link end. So I'm gonna go ahead and just lengthen it quite a bit. And then I'll start cycling the steering some more and see if we get what we need out of it. Probably don't want to go more than that, just because, well, just cause. Let's turn the steering and see how that does. All right, I'm getting all the way to both knuckles. Probably lengthened it just short of an inch. So I'm just gonna tighten it down right there and call it good and move on.